Welcome back, and we've got a few nice requests, and the first one is from Robbie. Robbie, Ford Motor Company, and I can remember they listed on the New York Stock Exchange a few weeks ago. I don't know how many weeks ago. I was nervous in calling a buy on the share because the reason why it had this ugly lamp formation, it started to lose momentum. But in the meantime, what happened? You can see that it broke this beautiful uptrend line. Now, for me, if it is below the $16.20, for me, it is negative. But now I can tell you something. I know the whole world is in a bearish trend, and the Nasdaq looks ugly, and the Dow looks ugly, and the S&P looks ugly. If I go through some of these bigger companies, on the Nasdaq, on the New York Stock Exchange, even on the S&P 500, there's quite a few of them that's really been hammered to pieces. And I don't say that they're going to go back into a beautiful new bull trend. What I do say is they've been hammered to pieces. Now, let's have a look here. And Robbie, I want to show you here. I mean, there's the break of the trend line, but I want to focus on something else here. Let's just zoom that out. This is now a weekly chart. Remember, there must be a lot of fund managers when a share dropped from 26 to 12 in a matter of a few months. There must be a lot of fund managers in the world that's sitting on heaps of cash. And sometime or another, they will come in and they will buy this market. Even if it goes up 5 or 6%, they'll be happy and maybe lock in some profits again. But at the moment, if I look at it, Robbie, this little candle on the weekly chart, that dragonfly doji is telling me that there's maybe some buyers around. And on the other hand, if I look at this, can you see here that we're almost close to a previous low? There you are. I just want to show you. There you are. We're just trading right at the level where it was in July 2021. And the big thing here, if you look at it, if we remain above this level of 1253 and we're just above that, that low is maybe going to be honored. And this dragonfly doji is telling you maybe that there were some buyers 2 weeks ago that already nibbled on the stock in weakness. And now they're waiting and they don't say to themselves, we're going to add on to the position. They're just watching this low. Now, where will be the trigger point? The trigger point will be above that little top of that dragonfly doji. Now, for me, if it goes above, and that's the level 1417, you can easily see that the Ford Motor Company suddenly picks off and gives us a relief rally. Why? Because we've got this bottom that it tested. And where's my stop loss? I've got a stop loss of 12.15. That's the low of that dragonfly. You can actually go a little bit lower. It was last week's low, and that will be 12.07. So it's about the $2 stop loss that you need to take if you're wrong. But I mean, if it breaks away there and it starts to go, it can really go. And there's the levels. I mean, it can go to 15.07, 15.14, 15.60, and even as high as 1787. And the reason why these companies are under pressure is because of supply. They don't get chips. There's a lot of factories that's closed, and I mean the high oil prices makes the logistics a nightmare. So remember, that will also pass in time to come. Alan is asking about Home Depot. Well, Alan, I mean listed on the New York Stock Exchange, but look at this. In a matter of a few weeks, well, months, 3-4 months, from 420 to 286, that's a massive. But that doesn't mean that the stock will turn around. What I say to myself, if I zoom it out a little bit, and what do I see? I see a falling wedge. It is on the brink of breaking that wedge to the upside. I just want to draw in that little line there. And remember, this is one of those companies as well under pressure with the inflation around the world. People are buying less. But this falling wedge tells me that we can easily see a beautiful relief rally in Home Depot if it picks up. And for me, we're on the brink, and that's 28603. Turn this line into a resistance line. But now I want to tell you something. Sometimes you will see a chart going lower. And you will say to yourself, if it turns around, I'm going to rush in and buy it. there's something to remember. If world markets remain under pressure, this chart can actually go even lower. Of course, what happened in the past, look at this rally. This rally rallied from last year or 2020 when the Fed started to inject all that money. It rallied all the way in one way. And we need to find a place, and we've said it before, we need to find a place of equilibrium where the markets almost discounts the stimulus and the COVID effect. And I don't say this is going to be the falling wedge, but what I will say is when you've got a chart like this, and it is maybe way still above the previous low, then I will rather use, instead of that falling wedge, that right at the bottom level, I will say to myself, let's play safe and use this level. Because what will happen above that level? Then suddenly all these lower highs will turn into a higher high, and that will be the exact place to buy. If you do buy it above 295.90, you've got the stop loss of 286 on the dot. I mean, that's a tiny stop loss. And if it then goes on a weekly chart, it can go to 301, 311.41, and even back to 315. I mean, that's about the 8% growth. So watch these stocks. If they turn around, it's going to be quick. But I think if you're nervous, you must lock in your profits quite early. You mustn't just leave it to run. Maybe things are not yet kosher because there's many increases in interest rates all over the world mentioned, from Europe to America, in South Africa. So just be a little bit careful on what you call retail stocks. Freddie dropped me an email and said, Frans, I'm waiting a lifetime to buy Richemont. Now, Freddie, I mean, can you believe it? First of all, I want to go to the candles here. Can you believe it that the company like Richemont is suddenly dropping from 247 Rand in a matter of 2 months all the way down to 150.22. I mean, that shows you it's almost falling off a cliff. And what do we see? It's a waterfall formation, ugly move to the downside. For you, if you say you want to buy it and you cannot wait and you must buy it, I will say let's use this. I'm going to use this little resistance line. And the reason why I'm using that is I want a little bit of confirmation before I just rush into stocks. And unfortunately, it is about 10 Rand above your level. But that doesn't matter because then you know that the momentum is on your side and it can go higher. So for me, I will only look at the company at 165.25. I will use a stop loss of 147.34. And if it breaks this little line, 177.96, it can easily go back to that line, 197.25, 200, and even as high as 210.22. So, and remember Richemont, and this is quite important. Richemont is one of the bigger counters in the top 40. And if Richemont is under pressure, usually the whole of the top 40 will be under pressure. So just be careful to say to yourself, it must go up. And remember what fundamental analysts are doing. When the market is under pressure, let's say the top 40, they usually start to sell the whole basket across the board, just to balance the market. Nothing against the company. It is just to balance the market or balance that basket. So just be careful about that. Just don't rush in. I mean, top company, plenty cash, raised its dividend. Nothing wrong with the management. But I think the margins are a little bit under pressure, or maybe the sales are a little bit under pressure, or they foresee some weaker sales or margin, and that's why the stock is under pressure. But I mean, a wonderful company, but stick to your stop loss and only enter when you know that the momentum has turned to your favor. Nelson is asking about Goldfields, but listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, Nelson, if you look at this chart, I mean, I don't even want to say even more what I usually say, and that is, what do you see? You see a lamp formation. Well, look at the past. What happens? The moment the stock just rallies up, it usually collapses after that. And I don't say it's going to collapse, but for me personally, if I do see this and I see this low, and the stock is consolidating below this low, and that is 50 cents, 57 American cents, I will just say I will not buy it. And if you are a holder of the company, I will wait for any bounce, maybe back to 57, and just say thank you very much. I will just lock in my profit. Because where can it go to? It can go to 47 cents. It can go to 44 cents. It can even go as low as 35 if things really start to turn ugly. So for me, my friend, no buy, any sell on a bounce. I'll be happy unless the market shows me that it can go above 57. I will just sit on my hands. Kelly, thank you for Fuelcell, because I think there's maybe something on the boil here that we can maybe look at. If I look at the chart, I mean, can you believe it? It's been sold all the way down. And what I see here, Kelly, is the following, and I like that, what I'm seeing. I just hope it doesn't disappoint us, but that's why we've got a stop loss. I see this beautiful dragonfly doji, or some guys will say it's an inverse, but for me it's still a dragonfly, because we've got some nice lower shadow here. And I will say that above that little line there, I will maybe look at nibbling on the stock. And let's just have a look. I just want to zoom it out for you. There you are. Above 385, it can maybe give us a nice bounce, because what does a dragonfly mean? It means that guys bought in the low and they're happy, and while the low is in place and that low is 287, they will hang on to the stock. So for me, above that level of 385, it will trigger a buy for me. I will sit on my hands, or stop loss, sorry, I will not sit on my hands. I'll take a stop loss at 287, and where's my targets? I'll give them all through to you. 409, 430, and even 481, and can you believe it? It can maybe even go as high as 539 in time to come. I mean, nice sell-off. What do we see? It sold off all the way from $7 to $2. I mean, it's starting to recover. There's some nice lower shadows here. We're on a previous low. If it breaks, if it can turn that into a support, we can easily see a move to the upside. So Kelly, thank you for the request. Thank you for sharing your almost, you can say, your vision to us. And maybe we've got a nice buyer, because the oil price is still high. And I mean, this was hammered to pieces. So all the best. Thank you for watching the show. Visit our website, www.fransklerk.com, for more info, and we'll chat again.